Alright, so I've been talking with Saturn. How's it going, Saturn? Just finished placing the facts of very clear human Paleolithic activity that's like huge and of like massive imperial capability in Africa. During the Paleolithic period, but clearly it's the part of the Paleolithic period that is bringing in metallurgy in a high regard. So it's a big period. It's a big time right now, right? I right now am moving forward, and I've been informed of a hexagonal pattern storm, right, in Saturn's atmosphere, the North Pole. It's a literal firestorm, right? And what is so interesting about this is that it actually, right, it's like, a fucking hexagonal storm. I know, right? Isn't that fucking insane? I look at it, I'm like, well, clearly this is intelligent behavior. Saturn is putting out a very clear, intelligent shape everywhere. And it's like, I would wonder about the intelligence of the global bodies. There's a few interesting patterns that just immediately just grips me. I'm like, what? I know things as it pertains to a good amount of entropy, and obviously the first thing I should see occurred is a cymatic pattern. But you have a cymatic pattern in the form of a hexagon occurrent in a circular or right orbital world, or what would I call it? A spherical world, right? That is Saturn, right? I have a very clear, strong gravitational field of concentric rings, right around an epicenter that is clear across the planet. And then on the North Pole, you have a forever running hexagonal storm. This is likely a hexagonal storm that has existed as long as the solar system has in some places, whatever it is that you define. They claim Earth is 4.6 billion years old. I say get the fuck over yourselves. It's probably older than that, y'all. And then the next basis that I kind of offer is you have a clear, very strong gravitational pull here in the center, right? Maybe it goes in deeper, closer to the core, but the core's work and the core's gravitational field and the core's magnetic field is clearly the very strongest here at the eye of the storm. Or is this the weakest point? And is this the strongest point? But you have also a very clear kind of differential storm that swirls around, right? And it's kind of like you got yourself a black hole and a white hole, if you will. You see similar kinds of bases to large amounts of pressure that occur on our Earth's surface when it is that volcanoes erupt. You have a large output from the volcano during its eruption, yet you'll have cave-ins right next to it that kind of balance out and kind of, right, it sort of slows down the pattern, and it'll create a level of right? It'll neutralize itself over time. Right? You got another very solid base here to that other storm. And so what I essentially occur from it, what I'm realizing is that holy fuck. Right, just like with barrels, where are we here? Just like with barrels that occur, right, in the center, or we're close, not center of our Earth, right, deeper in high pressure crusts of our planet, right, in a spherical, right, plane that is epicentrally, right, crushed towards our core constantly, right? You do have the occurrence of hexagons naturally in nature all the time. Smaller ones, right? And if you look into cymatic patterns, right, you usually find cymatics in the form of quadratic shapes that are based more off of the square shape that is occurrent on the metal that is vibrated to occur the cymatic pattern. But the argument is, well, if you're going to logarithmize and idealize and do it to scale, you'd want to do the cymatic pattern with a circle shape. Right? You would want to see how it is that occurs. But my first argument is, in our spherical planet, hexes do occur naturally in more physical, solid state phase matter. Okay? Did you know that it's like you can get a crystallization of atmosphere? Did you know that it's more like you can get a solid pattern and shape going in an atmospheric trend over time and possibly forever? When it is that a pattern like this occurs on a planet, do you think you can ever stop it? Is another big question to ask. And no, I think this is a force that's beyond anything that, usually beyond our comprehension. But it's scalable. It's so scalable. They state, the hexagonal storm is at least 445 years old because our Voyager mission took a picture of it in the 80s. And I'm like, alright. H plus, dingus, how long do you think this has been going on? It's like, possibly older than the formation of our Earth, possibly, right? This thing is fucking ages old. It looks like a fucking angel, right? But it's more, right, like all angels, they're more understandable than you would have begun to think. So, where'd you go? Where's my cymatic pattern? So, bam. Bam, 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 bam. So, I get frustrated. I don't know the fucking matter. I don't know the density of the alloy of the cymatic plate here. I don't know the mass of the cymatic plate. I can't place too much over it, right? Cymatics are a test where it is that you take a physical phase matter. It doesn't have to be. And you place sand upon this surface. It's usually going to be locked in to the shape of the plane that you're putting the sand over, like this circle or a square. All right, so let's get over to some of the square ones. Here are more occurrent, more viewable, visible cymatic patterns you might recognize from this square. Okay? We've been experimenting with cymatics since at least 1500 AD. Probably long before that, if I'm going to be honest with you. But the argument that we kind of run into here is that when it is that you lock it into a quadratic plane, like a square, you're going to get quadratic style results. You're going to get quadratic style reflections, right? And this is a classic logarithm that you might recognize. Oh, hey, look at you. Look at you. How are you doing? Wait, is that literally... Yes, there it is. 4,462 hertz at whatever the fuck the mass of this plate is. At whatever fucking material alloy it is that they use to cast the sand over. This is the same fucking pattern. Let's see if I can get back over to pattern or Saturn. There's a Saturn pattern. This is the same fucking thing. It's the same fucking thing. Look at that, right? Because it's held, and this is more, it looks more like Saturn's a circle in this case. We're getting a perfect top-down North Pole view on Saturn, over Saturn, if you will. If the North Pole is there, I don't know if cardinal directions change planet to planet. I presume we all share one, and it's how it is that we all share a concentric orbit around the sun. And it's one of the biggest things that we do with each other, right? The planets help us hold our fucking core in proper place and balance even. Holds us in our proper orbit around the sun. Keeps our asses the fuck safe. Without them, the balance gets fucked. But the bigger argument is that you are having the same argument occurred logarithmically. You might know that something, an energy state, frequency-wise, to 4,462 hertz over whatever this kind of surface area plane is, as you might extrapolate it back to being a sphere, would now be the same exact atmospheric resonance, in a way, of the planet Saturn, seen clearly at its North Pole. So would you then argue that the center point, the epicenter of a cymatic plate, when the speaker during the experiment playing against it to vibrate it at these specific frequencies, Is that kind of like the core of the cymatic pattern? Is that what establishes the resonance of the system? Yes. I would argue that the core of a planet is like a beating heart that keeps everything in tick. Along with all of the other things that keep a planet in tick, like its orbit around the sun, but other things orbiting around it, and the mass, the gravitational fields produced around it in the void, and you don't know what those might be all the time. It's a quantum system, right? There are things occurrent that we might not qualify with our five senses or with any technology that we ever build to be used with those five senses. And you'll never be able to get it all figured out. But my whole point is that there's focal points. You really could begin to. This is a right. For example, this is a disc with right. If you make an argument that it is a perfect circle and its diameter is that there's an infinite set of points. A single vertex with an infinite set of points that can be placed over. It's not just 360. Right? That's to tell you about a forever expanding circular field, and tells you a little bit more about surface area, but you'll never be able to measure the full circle, if you will. You'll never be able to say and qualify all the points. Like zero, it's pointless. But look at that. At this frequency, it's the energy state really you're seeing, around 4,462 hertz, to a mass this, right, whatever the mass of this disk is, to whatever the general rules of its structure, to be vibrated by an energy state measurable to be this via the speaker. You can get a few more arguments in place understood about what affects a surface area that can be idealized on a sphere. Right? And essentially you are seeing the nature of a core resonance that occurs to kind of crush the atmosphere. Just like those barrels we see crushed into crystal underground on our spherical world. Hexagons do not occur in nature unless there is massive forces at play. Have you ever seen one alive? Have you ever seen one mixing in real time? Because this might look a lot like what occurs when our barrels are forming underground. It could look a lot like this. And so, essentially, you have to appreciate that no, hexagons are made by circles. Circles is however many points they have, when you get a certain energy field, right, they make angles. And you kind of see that argument in our planet, too. Although, however spherical it might look like from a distance, you get in deep enough, it's not fucking spherical. It's got a whole bunch of fucking spikes stretching out of it and under it. It's not perfectly circular at all. In fact, when the forces in a circular world are strong enough, it makes shit that's more angular. And that is another argument that you might be able to draw from cymatics. And so I conceive this idea, this point. It's this amazing thing. Is Saturn intelligent? Well, I don't know. There's certainly some very intelligent things going on here. Notice how it's a perfectly circular pattern, it looks sedimentary, kind of like, let's just get a picture, it could be a mundane picture of Saturn that's rendered, whatever. You do too have these rings, you really do. You do too, and there it is, the North Pole of Saturn. Oh wait, come on, where'd the other one go? There it is, right? And then again, I have to click that fucker open again just to get that back in. Right there they are. There they are. And it's a lot to, I know it's a lot to take in. It's amazing. It's showing you that indeed shapes are very handy. And we have a knowledge point of the kind of energy state against this kind of cymatic disk in the circular shape that tells us about the frequency of Saturn's core. So, in order to replicate this further, because I had just interpreted 3D cymatics, we take a perfectly as perfect as we can get it, a perfectly spherical mass that we can use to generate a very high energy state within another perfect transparent spherical dome. Another sphere that wraps around this perfectly spherical energy introduction point. It will serve as the core. It will replicate the core's frequency in an atmosphere. In the transparent globe that we place and it will be airtight around this other sphere, suspended in this globe. We will place a visible gas mixture, right, that can be seen and dense enough to show patterns of change like this over time, right? And the argument is that we change the pressure of the gas that occurs in this globe as we change the energy state of the resonance of the core, the makeshift core, the experimental core. And we ourselves should, under the right conditions, if we use materials strong enough and high enough in pressure, and we remember that it's an experiment to scale for atmosphere, we should be able to get a hexagonal air pattern to occur at the pole. And now, the argument is the core density of this Saturn is so ridiculously strong and huge from all of the matter that crushes in towards it, that has been caught within its atmosphere in general, right? Yet it creates, it's just important to say, it creates uniformity in other ways. It grabs even stuff around this ring, right? So it's beautiful about it. You get that better view of the true hexagonal pattern. This is perfect angle, a little bit parabolid, right? That's fine. That's fine. The same rule is going to occur here, but it looks like a hex nonetheless. It looks more like the hexes that you see occurred in beehives. Also occurrent in nature. So, essentially, you can kind of know this is the true hex. This is the true hexagonal pattern that nature produces and is found to produce. But when you get down to barrels, there's those perfect angles. So, essentially, the argument is, if you go ahead and introduce the right resonance from the core, and you put the right amount of pressure from a certain direction, likely downward, over the gas mixture, and then you might turn the globe around, right, and then you turn the core on the inside of it the opposite direction, for example, with the pressure and the resonance, you should be able to get a hex. You should be able to do it. And then what I'm curious to know is, do we get a hex with a child as two children, if you will? Because this is what I'm going to go ahead and call the cymatic pattern. Right? Circular cymatic with hex with golden ratio. So I'll say that a little bit more coherently another time, but you get it. Circular cymatic, circular range, hex pattern with golden ratio. But I might call them an anomaly. With anomaly. Because, again, my argument is you couldn't have density like this and a pattern like this potentially without another child to help balance it. And when it is that you have it so uniform in a place on the first place, you might get a little bit more information about these little specks in between, right? And then you really do look, it's like you have the strongest core point here. Then you have a very clearly discerned ring around it, like in a concentric pattern. Then you do have a mix occurring. And then you might have the beginning, right? But it's like really this mix, these dots here, really like these dots all the way over here. And then you have the hex. And then you have the rings. And so it's like the same fucking argument. The same fucking argument. So we have to be able to reproduce this, and I wanted to base 3D atmospheric cymatics within spheres, and I believe my experiment there might produce a hexagon that runs. It might. You might find that you want to do a slice just to get a 3D space, maybe not a full globe. But at first, maybe it is that you get a disc that has some width, but still has space for atmosphere to roll through it, and then you do a similar kind of induction. You could still use a speaker potentially, but I don't know how it is that you get it in that end. With pressure and speaker resonance, you might be able to get one like it. There's a few different ways to go about it. This is a slice of a sphere. Just like this is a slice of a sphere. But there's depth of current in this, whereas there's much less depth of current in this. But actually, there still is too fucking depth of current in it. The sand piles up in certain places. Right? And so, really, what you're seeing is that in the cymatic disc, right, the resonance of the speaker technically vibrates these sections, right, the parts where you don't find sand, more. And yet, to the fact that it's a structural element and that the metal has to stay together, even though it's criticaling from the resonant harmony, these spaces stay the same. These places stay in place. This is actually lower energy field. So you'd probably make the argument, this is a lower energy field. Like, right? And that this is the highest. But really, over here it would be lower. But here it would be fucking insane. And here it would be fucking insane. But certain specks of lower energy, right? And so high bits of energy here. Lower bits of energy here. The gravitational field slows shit down on these stripes. And it's, right? And then the higher right? It's actually right to say the higher gravitational field slows shit down on the rings, and that the gravitational field wouldn't be as strong here, so the shit runs wild. And so I'm beginning to really place what I'm seeing: low energy state, higher energy state, high energy state, low energy state. Or would you make the argument it's all the same energy? Lower frequency state, higher frequency state, or vice versa. There's either way you see clear contrasts. It's more stable and slowed down here, obviously, and it's so stable and so slowed down, they can't even round out the fucking thing all the way. It's literally getting angled back. So there's so many ways to draw knowledge to what about the cymatic patterns and why they occur, as to how that can be qualified to a 3D object in motion. So I just wanted to blow all of your fucking minds about this for a moment. Indeed, it's like I'm talking to Saturn. Isn't that the shit? I love you, Saturn.